All right, welcome back to the BretB from Outer Space show. Today we have my brother Chad BOURQUIN has some very interesting things to say about social media, taken directly from his course called Play Music Make More. We're going to talk about social media, all kinds of stuff, etiquette, strategies, and kind of introduce some of the course if you guys are interested. First, let's look at Play Music Make More here. Whoops. How about it? How about not that one? That's hilarious. All right. Seriously, I promise we're going to look at this.
The music industry is drastically changing and for the better. The power to have a successful music career is in your hands and no longer up to a few gatekeepers. The key is having the right information, the right tools, and committing to do the work. I want to help you jumpstart your career with my free ebook called Play Music Make More. This free ebook is everything we've done with our own group, as well as what I've learned being an entertainment agent, and it's all played into the success we've had as independent artists. Visit playmusicmakemore.com to get your free copy today.
All right, Chad, are you there?
I am.
Let me get this off here. I've already hit 2 wrong buttons this morning. Are you
Well,
okay
the
with
crowd
that?
seems to be enjoying it.
Oh, that's what we're here for. We're here to entertain. I li I literally I had to hit one button to play that commercial, and I swiped it instead of hit it, and it went. Yeah, anyway, it's a long story. So anyway,
One job.
what's that?
One job.
Yeah,
You had one
had
job.
had one job to do. Anyway, so this is Chad BOURQUIN for all of you that don't know him. He's my brother. We do a lot of things together. Play in a band called Big Time Grain Company together. We do a Dream Big series together. We record, produce instrumental music licensing music, film licensing music, and you have a course right now called Play Music Make More, and I think it's very timely to talk about it because last year nobody was playing any music or making anything. So, first of all, update us how that's changed. Before you start, Chad is not only a musician, but a booking agent. So he comes from a unique advantage of working both sides of that fence. So, what's going on right now with the scene? Tell us.
Well, just to back up just a hair, it was kind of funny because we did launch this course right before the pandemic shut down, and so the idea, which would have been a really good time to take the course to prepare
Yeah.
for, but there was so much unknown, and we just we elected not to really market it out there, and I knew I because I know a lot of musicians were struggling at the time just to pay any bills,
Right.
so what it did do though was I decided to go ahead and start like a small little mastermind just of a few groups, and we did it for just hardly anything, and we've been working with that group now for about a year. And what's cool is they got a head start on what's happening right now. And not that anybody's late to the game, but I'm telling you right now, I've seen more activity coming in from all sides of the fence than I've ever seen. And what I think's going on in my just my evaluation of it is that we've been as a society, anytime you don't get to have something or something's taken away from you, you want it more. And one of the biggest things that was taken away from us was live music and live concerts and that sort of thing for almost a year now. And so the phone or the email is I'm getting inquiries daily, multiple inquiries daily, not just for our group, but any group. I mean, all kinds of genres out there that are looking to all the way from festival said, "Hey, we're going to make this happen," to people just saying, "We can't stand this anymore. We're going to just have a band come play for our neighborhood," type situation. Um, and so I think, uh, I honestly think there's going to be a supply and demand flip for bands this year, where there's more gigs than there are groups available to play them, or groups that they're looking for. I mean, there's a lot of groups that might be just kind of starting out and whatnot, but I'm talking about the groups that have been out there doing this and have a following and been consistent. I don't think there's going to be enough of them to fill those gigs.
Gotcha. So you mentioned, I'm going to bounce to this real quick. You mentioned the mastermind.
Yep.
How does somebody, where do they go to tie into this, and what is involved with that?
Yeah, these things are all accessible on the Play Music Make More website. So just playmusicmakemore.com.
Gotcha.
And it's there's a top tab that says Mastermind, and you just basically sign up, and we meet once a week.
Okay.
Right now, I mean, there's one going on from 8:30 a.m. Central Time to 9. It's a half hour each time, so low time commitment.
Uh-huh.
Probably going to start another one, just because I've got some West Coast folks interested, and that's pretty early for a musician on the West Coast.
Isn't
Um,
8:30 pretty early for any musician? I mean,
well, yeah, 8:30 is pretty early, and 6:30 is too early
yeah, that's
for
way
most.
early.
So, um, so yeah,
Yeah.
we'll start another time on that. But and then they're all recorded, so anybody, if they can't make it, they'll be able to go back and access different ones. And what's cool on that is it's an open forum. These, I don't have an agenda going into those. It's dealing with the questions that each musician is dealing with, the problems or things they need solutions for at that time.
Yeah.
Occasionally we're bringing guests, which is fun, with that are experts. Like we had a LinkedIn expert on one of them, and had a guy come in that was an expert on. He actually was from the corporate side of things, telling these groups what they look for when they're looking for a corporate band. So that was a really good one, just for a guest. Got
Yeah.
more lined up as well.
That's awesome. While we're on the website, I do want to, I found something else here. You do like one-on-one calls too.
Yes, I do.
What is that? What is that? How is that different from the?
Well, that's just, I mean, if you want to move faster,
Uh-huh.
uh, then we're meeting an hour, an hour a week by Zoom.
Yeah.
But it's a full hour every week, and we are getting into the weeds of what might be keeping a person stuck as an artist.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That is, man, that's kind of some of the real work, isn't it? Getting into your personal stuff. I know
It is.
for you and I both, we've had Brian Sorrell as our mentor for. I'm pretty bad with dates, but is it like 7 years now, something like that?
Yeah, it may be getting close to 10.
Wow. Yeah, that's about right. I'm usually about 3 years behind. Um, anyway, it's one thing to, it's good to have a group of people surround you and have good ideas, but there's limitations sometimes that we can't see. You talk about getting into the weeds because
Mhm.
sometimes those things are hiding in the weeds. So to have somebody else dig through those, and even like accountability to call you out on, hey Brett, I'm starting to see a pattern here,
Right.
and kind of adjust or recognizing it and then figuring out, why do I believe the things I believe, and do I have to believe those anymore? Um, I had a question to Barry. So, since we're speaking directly on social media right now, I'm going to bounce kind of from the course to social media and talk about, because you're a booking agent and you're also a musician. What are some of the limiting things that you see from your perspective as a booking agent? Um, you talk to the buyer, and
Hmm.
you also communicate with the musician. Are there certain things you've seen help musicians that directly relate to social media? Just talking about getting gigs, making more
Yeah.
money, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, the first thing to acknowledge is that social media or Facebook is not a website. And when somebody, a buyer asks for you to send them a website, and you say, "Well, I can send you my Facebook page," that instantly screams amateur.
Hmm.
Um, and especially websites, are very, very easy for people to even just use templates and create their own.
Yeah.
So the idea that an artist does not have a website means they haven't really taken that it's serious enough to get one.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's the first thing. So, but social media is an extremely valuable tool if you recognize it for what it's supposed to be. I think what happens most of the time is we have these, like, we'll just use like Facebook for example. We have these personal accounts which we use to communicate with our friends and see what's up with them and all that, and learn what's going on in their lives, and vice versa. But the minute we get a business on there, or like a band, which is a business, we 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 all of a sudden change to this like advertising mode,
Hmm.
and it just turns people off, and they quit looking. They might end up blocking it,
Yeah.
because that's not why they got on there on that's not why the end user got on social media to begin with, was to be advertised to.
Yeah.
uh, Now Facebook obviously advertises all the time. That's how they let you reach more people, is by boosting posts, and we can talk about that for a second too. But the most important thing to recognize when you're dealing with social media is it is about engagement, which is another word for communication between people virtually. That's what's happening. And when a person comes to your show for the first time, they're just coming to see you play for the first time, and they sit down, they are trying to decide two things. Number one, do they like your music? And number two, do they like you? And it's probably, I've got those in the wrong order. It's usually the do I like you first? And what that means is, do they like you as a person? Do they like what you're about? Do they think you're cool? Can they relate to you? So when we cross that over to social media, they're still trying to decide the same thing. If they stumble onto your page, do they like you, and do they like your music? Now here's the
Yeah.
cool thing, is if people like you, they will tolerate a bad song. If you put out a bad song, if they strictly like the music and has nothing to do with, and they have not connected to you as a person, they are going to, I mean, the first bad song that comes along, they're gone. They're
Yeah.
moving on to the next group. So it's very, very important that we build relationships on social media, and connect with people. And there's ways to do that, and we can talk about that. But that's the first thing to understand, is why are we even there?
Yeah. So, what would you recommend? How do you solve that? If you have a band? Well, I'm a good example because I have I'm in a band and we do a lot of different music things, and most time people want to see pictures of my kids, so
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Why is that?
because they want to relate to me, you know, they see their children and can remember their children growing up, and
Hmm.
but yeah, relate. And so the kind of the line to walk is, well, I also want them to know about the show, so we have to post something about the show.
Yep.
But maybe, is it balance?
Yeah, it is completely. And it's unbalanced actually. They, I mean, the ratio really should be 10 to 1, 10 to 1, 10 posts that help people connect to you, one post promoting
Yeah,
something that you want to promote.
yeah.
So the, and that's the reason when we think about artists that we've seen, when VH1 used to do the behind the scenes, if you ever seen those, you can usually recall some very specific things that you learned about that artist from that show. And
Hmm.
it's because we have this innate desire to want to know what makes that person tick. How did what do they really like? We all get to see this surface side, but what we really want to know is what's behind the surface of anybody, for that matter. But I think it's intensified with artists that are on TV and whatnot, and touring at big national shows as well. Well, that doesn't change for the regional or local groups either. People
Yeah.
still want to know what makes them tick and what's behind that artist. So
Yeah.
giving them a window to that through social media opens up the door for them to become a fan, but more importantly, a friend. That's
Yeah.
what you're looking for.
Yeah. Um, real quick too, what's your thought on, oh, what would I call this? Just sometimes we can be all about ourselves, just post our stuff.
Yeah.
Um, what's your thought on engaging with other people and make sure we care about what other people are doing, and supporting other people? How's that
Yeah,
play?
and this is yeah, for sure. This is the creative where you got to get creative because it is your page for your artist page. I mean, that is what this page is about. So deciding what your purpose is as as a group. And here's a couple examples. Like, are you an entertainer or are you an educator? Um, is it possible you're both? Usually you're not though. So here's an example of how those two things conflict. If I'm an entertainer and my goal is to entertain people, then if I use my site to educate people on my political position, I have completely I've completely circumvented the entertainer part of that.
Yeah.
And plus, there's a whole other subject there. I've probably cut my audience in half as well. But
Yeah.
so that's the thing to think about is first of all say why am I here? I'm here to entertain. I'm here to connect. So how can I entertain? How can I include people in this? And I have to admit I've actually just recently started getting plugged into social media again. I took a break. I had to take a break. Because I was so involved for a while. I just needed to not do it for a while
Yeah.
and get fresh eyes again on it. But the one of the things that I did was I'm working on these. Brandon Miller is creating these shields to put in front of my amps that are out of this plexiglass, and he showed me they can etch something in it. So I thought, oh, that's cool. So I asked Tammy to design me something for that, and she gives me these two designs that are very very close together.
Hmm.
One has an initial, and one has a signature. I'm like, wow, I like them both. I don't know how to decide. She goes, well, why don't you just throw it up on social media and let them decide for you?
Yeah.
I mean, this was almost an afterthought
Yeah, totally.
of a post, and and that thing, I don't know where it's at. We can pull it up here in a second if
Yeah, I
you
was
want,
gonna
but
try. You want me to try to pull it up?
well, I've actually got it.
Okay, you do.
Yeah, I can share my screen. I can show it. We can do that real quick.
Yeah.
Um, oh, never mind. I did this on my personal one, didn't I? Yeah. So here's where I made a mistake. I should have done this on the Big Time Grain Company one, but I didn't because I wasn't expecting it to even do that much. I just wanted some opinions.
Yeah.
Um, but that thing got over. I think it's over 200 comments now,
Well, yeah.
and I was on the phone with somebody that was booking a date for us, and they said, "So hey, how'd your poll go?"
Uh,
This somebody didn't even comment,
yeah.
but they wanted to know how it came out,
Yeah.
and they made the comment. They said, "Well, one thing's for sure, we are never short of opinions on social media."
Yeah.
So knowing that, and knowing that we would like to include people into our process, and that is just one example of a way to to allow people to really
Yeah.
engage with you, give them a chance to be part of a decision. you
Totally.
know you can even do that with songs. I've got these two little things I'm trying to figure out, like this one has a guitar solo here, this one has a fiddle solo here.
Yeah.
Which do you like better?
You should totally put that up. Let people decide.
Yeah.
While we're on it, I'm gonna plug that with this show. If you guys have any comments, things we could do or do better, even make sure you post them in the comments. Anybody on the show, we have this idea to create music live and then let people comment on it. You know, let them be a part of it. That hasn't fully developed yet, but that's interesting that it would come back from a buyer. It's like a full circle thing. It's like interaction with people. People are enjoying the conversation, and then the attraction of the buyer
Yeah,
just to see something like that. And I'm sure that can work the opposite way too. So
it can. Here's the where the marketing side of this works into your advantage is you're keeping yourself top of mind for people that are making buying decisions.
yeah,
So, when somebody buying your group sees people engaging, and we've got smart enough to recognize that likes of a page are fake for the most part.
what do you mean by
Um,
that? Likes of a page are fake?
well, or I'm sorry, they're not are fake. They can be fake.
Mm,
Because there's ways you can go out and pay people to get you a bunch of likes on your page.
yeah,
So, so, so that causes an interesting problem when you've got 100,000 people like your page and 20 people showed up to your show.
yeah,
Something's wrong there. So that's because those weren't real fans to begin with.
yeah,
But when somebody sees, a decent amount of likes of a page and sees many people engaging with the content on there,
uh-huh,
now that's you can't fake that.
yeah, yeah. That's
So
real. That's pretty real. um, so we've covered a lot here. For some reason, I want because it's been so long since I've seen some of this course stuff that you've done. What all is involved in the Play Music Make More course? I mean, we're talking about social media here, but this is just a segment of the course, right?
yeah, yeah. There's like we've actually just split this segment off where you can get this just as a standalone,
Hmm.
which includes two modules right now. We'll probably throw this on there too, which would make it three. But that that's two modules out of 19 modules.
Yeah.
So we're covering everything in there from, I mean, how, like we talked about in the beginning, how you need to think to begin with. I mean, if you're not thinking right, then the rest of this doesn't matter very much. Um, Things like song choice, things like designing a show, engaging with a audience when you're not playing.
Mm,
How do you engage when you're out in the crowd, just maybe on a break? How do you engage from the stage effectively?
yeah.
How do you connect with people? I mean, there's like I said, there's 19 on there, and we even get into when is it a good time to get a manager? When is a good time to get an agent?
Yeah.
I haven't had this for a while, but for quite a while, I used to have calls coming in because of being an agent, and this was the comment they all said we need somebody to take us to the next level.
Hmm.
I'm like, all right, well, and that was my first signs, like, if they need somebody to take them to the next level, the agent is not going to do that. That's not what an agent does. You can only take yourself to the next level. um, and the irony of that is when you take yourself to the next level, the agents call you,
Hmm.
because what's going on is buyers are calling the agent saying, hey, I've heard about this group. How do I get a hold of them?
Yeah.
And the agent's like, commission, I can get commission here. I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna
Yeah.
get a hold of this group. And the other thing to think about is just, you know, if you're playing gigs that are $500 gigs, which there are hundreds of bands fighting for $500 gigs. There's just a few gigs or a few bands out there that are in the 2,500 to 5,000, 10,000 on up.
Why is
So,
that?
well, only if they're willing to do the things that it takes to get that,
Uh-huh.
um, which that's, I mean, it's a lot of the stuff we cover in the course. What does it take to put yourself in a position that you're worth that kind of money to
Hmm.
for somebody to pay?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot to it, but
Yeah, there's a
it's
lot to
not
it.
unachievable. That's the thing. I mean, there are talents that you have to come to the table with, but I can't tell you how many just extremely talented people that I know that are still stuck in that $500 gig range.
Yeah.
So it's not the talent that's keeping them there. It's the other stuff.
Yeah. Um, yeah, great. So we had a question from Aaron Wesley. If I had time to invest in one social media page, what platform would you go with?
It's a great question. So what first I would do is, where do you feel your largest portion of your what you think your fan base might be hanging out on? And that's usually potentially a demographic thing, maybe an age thing. You know, there's
Hmm.
there's an age, what do you call it? There's a bottom age to what of what probably hangs out on Facebook. You know,
Hmm.
once the if you're under a certain age, there's probably it's going to be Instagram
TikTok.
or TikTok or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most important thing. But also, you want to when your assessment, which one do you enjoy being on the most? Because if you can't figure out a way to enjoy this, it's going to be hard to stick with it.
Yeah.
So
So two things. Consistency is how important compare well, it's important not to post stuff that's, dumb, it's going to get you in trouble, but how
right.
important is content compared to consistency? That's the way to put it.
Okay, so yes, you want to have good content, but consistency is extremely important. But how you have to navigate consistency is if I can find enough time to post once a week on a I'm sorry, once a day on any given platform, but I don't allow the time to respond to people that comment,
Yeah,
then then that's not good, because the
right.
response to their comments is as or more important than anything else you do.
Gotcha.
So it'd be better to drop down to 3 times a week
Yeah.
and making sure that you're responding to everybody that are coming.
Yeah. So I have a quick side note on that particular subject. Somebody told me this story about there's this YouTube person that's doing really well, and she's her strategy is exactly that. She doesn't care what people say
Mm-hmm.
on her chat or her feed. She'll like put a red dot on her face just so people go, "What's that red dot for?" You know? I mean, like she's like, it's just the interaction piece. I don't know if that's whatever. It
Well, and it
is.
is because she is also not taking herself too serious, which I think is pretty important.
Yeah,
Because if you take yourself too serious, then this is going to be hard because
you
you're
can
going to
get.
have somebody say something that offends you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Especially like YouTube's ruthless sometimes. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So I have a question about LinkedIn because we're not only talking about making more money and how it relates to social media. A
Yeah,
lot of buyers would be on LinkedIn. Is that right? Is that like an untapped market?
totally is. Yeah, especially if you're wanting to do corporate, private, um, those type of
Mm,
things. Which there's great money in those to do those. The I see more coming on now, but
uh,
so I got serious about LinkedIn because I've got a buddy that has a course and he teaches on it, and I went through it. And I just learned a ton, and I got serious about that probably 5 months before the shutdown that happened. And
mm,
gosh, we were getting by the time we were done, we were just getting business. We were getting licensing business to create custom songs for people
yeah,
on LinkedIn just
yeah.
by staying consistent, posting interesting things. Now, LinkedIn, my LinkedIn posts are going to be different a lot of times than the Facebook posts.
Mm,
LinkedIn is like an education platform. That's why people are going there. They're going there to network, communicate, and get educated on things. Now, there's room for some entertainment, but boy, I'm telling you, you throw a couple videos of a cat on LinkedIn and you will get chastised. So
Keep your cat
it's
videos for
it
TikTok.
is not for
Yeah,
that.
that's hilarious. That is super funny. Um, yeah. The okay, real quick. Who's your friend that's got the course on LinkedIn? Mr.
Monty
Monty.
Clark.
Monty
Yep.
Clark.
Mhm.
What's the name of the course?
Uh, well, he's got a few of them. If you're going to connect with Monty, you just go to LinkedIn and look up Monty
Look up
Clark.
Monty.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, he helped me with my LinkedIn page too, which was pretty sad at the time. He's a great dude. Um, I had if this course. Okay. So I feel like we're kind of bouncing around about a few different things, but it's okay. The the Play Music Make More course. I know I'm your brother and I do some of the stuff with you, but I'm this is still your kind of baby. This is something that you've gained all this knowledge from being a booking agent for years, and you're also a musician, so you see both sides of it. So you have a very unique perspective. I don't have that perspective. Um, so I'm curious from you if this course would do its full potential. How would it change things? How would it change the music scene? How would the music scene look different?
Well, the whole premise of it is giving the power back to the artist and not leaving it in the hands of where it's been up to this point,
Mm,
which is, I mean, if we're talking on the big labels, the big scale, it's labels, they make decisions. You
yeah.
know, one of the reasons our story is such a powerful story is because we started Big Time Grain Company at the age we did.
Hmm.
We had passed what they consider the prime when we started this, and
Yeah.
we didn't just pass it. We kind of overshot it. Um, and yet we're now seeing incomes that when I book some national acts coming through here that are label acts for some festivals and stuff I've actually had this comment from a buyer when they say they want us to open for national act. They say, "Well, what do you get?" And I tell them, they say, "Well, I don't know if we can pay you more than we're paying the national."
Yeah.
so so that's how I know. You know, by the way, one of those was Luke Combs.
Yeah.
Look at him now.
Yeah.
So now Luke was on. And now, granted, there is a purpose and there is a reason to have a national act. But let me tell you what they're not looking for. They're not looking to take you from 0 to 60 themselves. They want you to be running about 40 miles an hour before they even look at you. And Luke Combs was. I mean, that dude had a lot going on
Hmm.
by the time when we opened for him, even though it was 3 weeks before that song had hit Hurricane.
Yeah.
Uh, when we did that. And so where I feel our course jumps in is getting people to the point that either if they really want a label and they and their label material, we'll get them to the point that a label would be interested. But here's the good news: if the label's not interested, they're going to have a bit. They're going to be left with the music business for the rest of their lives with
Yeah.
this, because they'll be able to run it themselves and make the kind of income they want to make.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Are there untapped areas still for live music? Do you
Areas
know?
in what?
I'm just curious, like corporate, is there corporate stuff that's untapped? I feel like there's a bit of a like a hole in the market where bands would take this more serious, would take their personal growth more serious, would take their business more serious,
Hmm.
that they would even exploit more holes in the market, like I don't know, like corporate
Yeah.
stuff, where with
Well, so
go ahead,
buyers will take you as serious as you take yourself.
right,
And we, we lost a gig one time because I quoted him half of what he thought we should have been. I
Hmm.
mean, I heard it in his voice. I
Yeah.
was on the phone. This guy was pumped. He was excited. He was like scrolling through our website. He goes, "This is exactly what we're looking for."
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, he just, I mean, it was like over the top, going on and on. And then he says, he goes, "Well, what do you guys charge?" And I said, "Well, we normally charge this." He's like, "Oh,
It's
I
like,
thought I thought you would have been this."
wow.
I mean, it
Devalue,
was like,
like
it just
totally
went
devalued
cold
yourself right in front of somebody.
right in front of somebody. And I vowed to myself at that point, I'm never going to do that again. So that's when I started putting together packages and recognized not everybody's going to pay what that guy is ready to pay. So how do we accommodate that
Uh-huh.
and at the same time, consistently build our on the rate we're at right now? Because the
Yeah.
key to building a big, getting higher rates as a group is to to escalate up over time.
Uh-huh.
As the demand increases, in other words, when you've got a ton of books coming really easy at one price, and it's time to bump that price up.
Yeah.
And but don't just double it,
Yeah.
So you gotta go up for a rate. But when I started creating packages, and I teach on this too, it's that what that does is then it says, okay, here's the base price. I mean, they do this all the time with cars, right? Why wouldn't it work with bands? Here's the base price, but if you want this, this, and this, then it'll be this price. If you want this, this, and this, it'll be this price. And as you know, the most extreme example we've had of this ended up 30K.
Yeah.
Now I do not know that many artists coming through festivals here making that kind of money on a national scale.
Yeah.
But it was all about the package
Yeah.
and giving value. Here's what it really was. We were giving more value to the buyer that he just could grab a hold and says, yes, this is going to make this event. He wanted the event to be over the top, and he just kept asking for more and more things.
Yeah.
I mean, we were doing custom T-shirts from the guy. We were doing a
Hmm.
custom song, custom CDs. I mean, on and on and on that was put together. Things that we do all the time anyway, and are really good at, and are fun for us. They were willing to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah. So, limitations. What do you believe about yourself? Do you believe you can make that kind of money? Um, or do you believe you can, play for $500 the rest of your life? I think you really have to go there at some point. You have to, because the society and the culture has not valued live music like that. They have not valued it to say, here's live music. It's worth this much money. We really appreciate it. This is fine art. And, no gig should be under 5K. Now, I understand the bars can't afford that and all that stuff. I understand
Right.
that. But it's still a mental thing. It's still like a ceiling I feel like we have to break, not only in who we are, but in the industry itself, because the industry says you should be happy just to do what you love. And if somebody gives you $50, that's great, So that's some of the hurdle there. Um, Mike Schmidt's got a question. When it comes to connecting, how can sharing personal experience help? And how much is too much sharing? That's a good question. How much is too much sharing?
Well, I think you can gauge that by responses.
Mm,
If people are engaging with you, then you're probably in that zone. And so sometimes you got to figure out where the boundaries are on that, and which I do that in everything I do. And then I figure out that once I figure out the
yeah.
boundaries, then I can kind of land in the middle somewhere there.
Yeah. Go too
I'm
far,
getting
then
better.
back it up.
Well, exactly. I'm getting better. I think that's age of wisdom.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
always hit the end anymore.
I know for me that sometimes I've been kind of afraid to share some things and then realize, those things make me who I am. Um, and those, it was healthy for me to share them. And I think at the end of the day, if you're going to be sharing stuff on social media, you want it to totally be you. Because what you don't want to do is become successful at not being you. because then you have to every day you have to wake up and pretend to be somebody else just to keep the check coming. So I think that that is more than just social media. I think that comes down to like what kind of songs are you writing, where's your heart, how are you talking to people, which I keep pimping this course a lot, but that I'm starting to remember everything that we put into this course. And Chad, you did the content, but a lot of that's in here. And it's not as easy as just saying, hey, I want to make more money. And here's 3 steps to make more money. And I need to ask this question, and then I'll just make more money. It's like, no, it's like life. It's digging in and kind of getting real with yourself and saying, well, no, I have to become worth more to make more. I heard something the other day where somebody, a millionaire, was saying people want to be millionaires, um, but they don't want to be what the person it takes to be a millionaire. And whatever. There's crooks and all that stuff, but legitimate people that are blessed and are allowing God to work in their finances have become different people to be that blessed. They've had to recognize that they have stinking thinking about stuff and address those things, but they've become a different person. And I literally feel like I know that I've had to become a different person through this process. So, um, anyway,
Well, and I think that's some of the education we've also gotten just from some of these gigs. As you start to get better gigs, those gigs, especially when you're talking about the corporate stuff, you begin to hang out and meet the CEOs and presidents of these companies.
yeah,
And I started recognizing patterns
huh,
in that. Um, I recognized I because I would just watch. I would watch how are they around their people, and how do people look at them, and in most cases there was an extreme amount of enduring, or not enduring, well, I lost the word, but there was a respect, there was an admiration for these people, because these these guys or girls at the top cared about the people in organization.
yeah,
And I mean, it's the reason that we were there to begin with, because they wanted to go over the top with everything they did. So they wanted to spend money on a group, they wanted to spend money on the food, they wanted to spend money on the location, everything,
yeah,
and everything they did to make people feel valued. And that's who that person is, and that's why they're in that spot.
yeah, yeah, totally. I think I had somebody tell me one time at a show that said, "Your smile is your greatest asset." Um, and I'm not. I love music. I'm not the greatest at everything, but connecting with, like, smiling, to have somebody say your smile is your greatest asset was like,
Yeah.
it's not that much about music. I mean, it is. You have to hone your craft and get good, but it's usually you're getting good so you can be more personable. Like your
Mhm.
yourself comes through the instrument, but then also how are you reacting to people around you at gigs and fellow musicians, bands that you open for, bands that open for you, um, you know, guitar techs, Mike Schmidt. How are you reacting to Mike Schmidt? We treat
Mhm.
we treat Mike pretty good though. I think better than he treats us. Just gonna say that. I'm just kidding, Mike. Mike has another question. It says home ditty question mark.
Yeah, yeah. Home Diddy's awesome. More great people that run that. It's based out of Des Moines, Iowa.
Hmm.
Katie Byers started that, and gosh, and I tell this story a lot, because we did that Royals thing in 2015 for 800,000 people, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
and
I wish I
then
had a
and
picture of that.
all the way we've done that to play it in Katie Byers' living room for 40 people.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we came out with more work and more gigs and more relationships out of those 40 people than we did the 800,000. Why? Because that we were in a living room with people, we were jammed in the corner. I could reach out and high five the front row from where I was sitting in this corner playing because we were all so close. And we got those people ended up turning into why we've got over, I think 50% of our dates in Iowa this year.
Yeah.
I mean, if almost every bit of that could almost go back to that.
Wow. Katie's going to be asking for a commission here in a little bit. She's going to be
like,
right. Gosh, there's a huge lesson in that whole deal. I remember that night. There was something special about it. It was very, just everybody was together. There was a bit of a togetherness going on, which leads to, I don't want to get up too far off social media because I feel like I'm starting to stray into some of these other areas. We'll have to come on and talk about these different segments maybe.
Yeah.
As we break them apart, but you can get the social media segment. Can people get that separate? And how would they get that separate?
So within 48 hours, I will have that link up on the site.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 24.
Yeah. So we had the course, and then we're breaking it into pieces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but in the meantime, they can hop on and get the, if they just hop on there, they can get the free book. That's on there.
Yeah. Free ebook right there.
Yeah.
And
we can email them when the social media is available.
Okay. Perfect. Alrighty. Chad, thanks a lot for being on. Anything that I forgot to ask you concerning social media?
Well, I think we covered most of it. Let me just look at my notes.
It's hard to cover everything in these things because there's just so much to all of it. So we'll have to. Mike says he'll try harder next time.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, you're awesome, dude. We love you. So yeah, we'll have to do more of this. We'll have to get you on when we kind of break some more of those apart. But until then, you can sign up for the mastermind. Do you have spots left in the mastermind?
Yeah.
Couple. Okay.
And I am gonna start a new time frame anyway, just because of the East or the West Coast.
For West Coast. Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Thanks for being on today.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll talk to you later. Thanks, Chad BOURQUIN, ladies and gentlemen. That is. All right, man. See you later.
Is drastically changing and for the better. The power to have a successful music career is in your hands and no longer up to a few gatekeepers. The key is having the right information, the right tools, and committing to do the work. I want to help you jumpstart your career with my free ebook called Play Music, Make More. This free ebook is everything we've done with our own group, as well as what I've learned being an entertainment agent, and it's all played into the success we've had as independent artists. Visit playmusicmakemore.com to get your free copy today.